Hello everybody and welcome back. Today is going to be a very important topic that we will cover, which is the client-side scripts and event scripts, server-side versus the client-side scripts. And this is a very big topic, and if you're looking to understand how it works, when to use one over the other, this is a great video for you. So what we will talk about is basically how to understand the difference between them two and when to use one over the other. We will not be doing any coding in this video. So if you're looking for example, we will have other videos for that. This is a conceptual video to have a better understanding on when to use one or the other and what they mean when you hear client side or a server side or user event script. So this is what this video is about, and this will help you actually logically get a concept and then understand better when you do your scripting. Let's get started. So I'm gonna show you a really cool image that I created to kind of summarize everything, and we'll come back to that. We'll be going back and forth to this. So this is kind of when it looks very confusing and maybe a little overwhelmed, and we'll break it down into pieces. But what this is actually, you can take a screenshot or whatever you need. This will help you later on to go back to it to refresh your memory. But these are basically the ways of the way the script is handling our user event interactions. Okay, so we will not be talking about the scripts that run on the server side when we're talking about the mass updates or MapReduce or other types of scripts. We're only going to be talking about the user interaction. And so when we get the data from a server and put it back to the client. The reason why this is kind of split into two, and the biggest understanding that every single coder needs to understand, is that when we run and interact with the client, there are two types of scripts. One that is executed on the server, which is where the data is, data layer. And then we also have one that interacts with the user, which is through your browser. And so those are the two different types of scripts, and they are executed differently at different times. And so this is what this video is about. Okay, so let's break it down. So I'm gonna kind of stop this presentation for now, and I'm gonna open up a whiteboard, which I want to kind of walk through a step by step so that we can get a grasp of understanding when certain things happen. So first things happen is that user wants to, let's say, open and edit the record. And so he or she opens up a URL and sends it, clicks a button beneath this customer and sends a request. So this is basically sending a request to a server, which is going to be sitting on the data somewhere on the cloud. This is what's cool thing about NetSuite. Okay, so this is our script. And so what's going to happen here is that the database, before we give the data, before the data it goes back to the user, it will trigger our script, in which there will be a function called before load. So before we send the data back. And so we want to do certain things. We want to log certain things. We want to prepare the data. We want to back up maybe, or do other things. There are different things that you can do before give it back. So you can execute that script. So on our side, so on the server side, we will execute, this is why it's number one, and then we'll send the data back. Okay, send back data to the user. And this is where I'm going to draw the line here right in the middle, which is going to split up. Now, once we send the data, we don't have it anymore. Okay, so we send it, and now the user gets it. Once he comes back on the other side, what's going to happen? There is another script here. Now, it's going to be on the user side, and that is going to be the client side script. Okay, there's another script. And what's going to happen here that once there is a script here, and it's going to know, okay, now I'm requesting to send the data is coming in, and this script can interact, and there is another execution that you can run your code on, which is going to be page init, which is initialize the page. And you can do many things here. You can give a warning to the customer saying, hey, welcome to this user or whatever. Certain things you can do, cannot do. So this is kind of what you can do. You can preload certain things. So there's different ways you can do here. Now, once that is done and the data comes in to the user and the user finally can see. So this is before the data is loaded on the client side. Here, now the user gets to see it. And so this is why I kind of like to draw it over here. So this what happens here is once the user gets the data and he or she sees it, he can start putting in different fields, editing certain things, start typing. And this is where this gets interacted with this script on the client side again, and they talk back and forth. And here there's many different, so when you're in the one field, you can edit and you can put a number in there. You can have a script that validates that field and say, hey, this is illegal field, this is a legal number, or this is only for characters, whatever you want. You can put more characters in, and the script will say, hey, it's only 5 characters. And so you can validate certain things. And so there's different things you can do. You can preload data, you can calculate math. And so there are, I believe there is 4 or 5 different types of entry points for this script to interact. Okay, and so all of this is number 3. So this is the third type, which is the actual really meat of that whole client-side script. And so it talks back and forth here. Sorry about my drawing. I'm pretty horrible with this new tool I started using. Okay, so I hope you forgive that. But after that, let's say user completes everything here, and then he just says, okay, I'm done, and I want to save the record. And so it sends the data, tries to send the data back to the server to save it. And that's where this client side interacts one more time and sends number 4. And you can validate one more time to make sure all the data entered here is correctly, whatever we want to do. And then once that is done and your validation passing through here and it's all good, after that it crosses over to the server side and hits it and makes a request here. Now this server side can interact as well and send another validation here. And this is final validation before the data gets back into it. This is number 5. And this executes on the server. And you can validate one more time. You can do certain things. You can reject it here. And then it will send the back data that the record failed to be saved, which I'm sure you guys all have seen that red line on a record when it fails. Or it's gonna go back into it and get saved. Okay, and then after it's saved, there is another one that the server side can trigger, which is final one, and it's called after submit. And this is very important, and we will talk in different scripts, different videos about this and use examples to show the difference between them two. They're very similar, but there is a huge major difference between them two and where to use it. So this is kind of general understanding, and hope you guys kind of understand this better now on why there's so many different types and why they are important and when they are triggered. Now, so one thing that I do like to point out, and I think we're done with this. Let's go back to the our famous cool slide. So here it's kind of the same thing where we just drew over there. It's just kind of over here now. Things kind of make sense, right? And this is actually prettier to look at. So if we go through this is the top is, again, this is the client and user, what it does, and the scripts that execute on here. And then there's a server data side. Now, a lot of times, and you will see the actual name for the server side script, it's called user event, which kind of doesn't make sense. One thing in the beginning, I was very confused. Why is it called user event? Because it's a server. It didn't make any sense to me, because now there's a client, also can be referenced as a user. There is a client events, and then there is a user event. very confusing to me was, and I kind of, for myself, I started to understanding, okay, the client is where I am at the monitor, right, at the screen, right there interacting with the actual script and with the record. Now the server data, the reason why it's called user event is because user triggers that and sends the data to the database. And so that is kind of the best way that I can explain. And if you guys have any better explanation, go ahead and feel free to explain to me in the comments. So hopefully this guys kind of explains to you very well, and we will have some scripts where we dig deeper into examples of them and kind of figure out where to use one over the other. So we're not going to go into details. This is just an overview. So hopefully you guys are very well now familiar with this and terminology. And please let me know if you have any comments. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Keep on suiting.